All right, y'all, leak speak. Learn, educate, activate knowledge. You understand? That's leak speak. That's the acronym. So today I want to go over this book, right? So I did one book review, then I went through and did some highlights of another book, and I'm like, you know what? I like this. I think we can take this somewhere. And so today you see me suited and booted, here to give y'all some proper information. You know what I'm saying? And so with that being said, let's take this to another level. As far as giving this knowledge, like I said, leak speak is learn, educate, activate knowledge. You understand? So I'm learning and I need to educate in order for everybody to activate the knowledge, not only y'all, but me as well. And so here we are today with this fine old book called How to Be Your Own Best Friend, right? And so pretty much all it is a dialogue between two people. It's a conversation in which they're kind of talking about the trials of life, or they're trying to come to a consensus. And so we have one person who's asking all the questions, and they're asking really good questions, and so we're getting really good answers. And so I took away something way different than what is in the book. Not way different, I took some things away, but something that I felt could help us. And so here we are with how to be your own best friend. And the purpose of this, what I did on this flashcards, is to give people self-dependence. So what we have is a lack of self-knowledge today, which kind of frustrates us, right? So speaking to goals and speaking to the things that we desire to do, not having the right knowledge itself will only make us more frustrated when it comes to those goals, right? So an example when it comes to like being frustrated is when we think about our ability to make choices, right? What if I told you that your ability to make choices is kind of like your stamina? So just like you can't run forever, you can't make choices forever. Like you have a limited amount in your day in which before you start to become frustrated, right? And then there's a story of a guy who, he's working all day on the fence. He can do the fence because that's just work. He's just putting it in. You know what I'm saying? He's putting the poles down and he's working, right? But then he has to pick. There was another situation, and the same guy who was good at making fences had to pick if potatoes were good or bad. And what that did to him was, by the end of the day, he's drained because he had to make all these choices. Is this a good potato? Is this a bad choice? And so here we are with this level ground of understanding the ability to make a choice is not something that can go on forever. And so if we understand that, then we structure our days a little better, so we're not as frustrated when it comes to certain things. So let's get into this, how to be your own best friend. Why is it important to be your own best friend? If you see me oftentimes and I'm in a highly fair energy mood, and I'm, in a group, sometimes you'll see me just be by myself. Like I'm cooling by myself. I don't need to, because I learned as a child how to be my own best friend, in which I can make jokes in my own head. I can do things in my head that doesn't require anybody else to come and help me be my own best friend. And so what I want to do is help give you guys that if you are lacking that. And today is especially important because like a lot of us can't trust anybody. So we hear in our music, so whatever. So we're pushed away from others, but we're not bringing ourselves closer to ourselves. And so here we are today, how to be your own best friend. So number one, I listed this in 5 so we can kind of break it down and see. And so we'll just kind of talk some points, but I also want to just flip through the book and read you guys some things as well. So I expect this to be about 15 to 20 minutes. I'll put a little snippet on the gram so I can bring people to YouTube and watch it. So without further ado, all right, so number 1 in how to be your own best friend is learn how to operate yourself. Here we are when I was speaking of the self-knowledge. A lot of us lack. We don't know that we can only make so many choices in a day, depending on the person, of course, but willpower is something that, like your ability to say no to something. How many times do you think you could say no to something before you would finally give in, right? So we're understanding this stamina type, like if we could see it as stamina. So learning how to operate yourself. So willpower, that's big because we frustrate ourselves a lot of times when we set goals or when we expect us to do things and then we don't do them. So here we are, and I'll speak to this too. So here we are trying to 2020, everybody's trying to do their new goals and stop whatever. And so what if we rescheduled or we reorganized our days to where it would be a lot easier, to where we wouldn't have to say no? I dodge the situations in which I'd have to say no. I close my eyes when I pass a fast food restaurant so I don't have to present that to myself. And so learning how to operate yourself is powerful because we're not teaching that. We're not teaching how to understand ourselves more. We're not teaching, some of the pivotal things that are important to. And I'm trying to stop myself from touching some things so I can go through them down here. But learning how to operate yourself, right? And so what also comes with learning how to operate yourself is learning how to maneuver in the world. And what you'll find is the more you learn how to operate yourself, the easier it is to maneuver in the world, because it's not like you're holding back or you're just being yourself. You're allowing yourself to just be, like, and that's what it is. So what is happiness and where does it lie? And so this is where we get into learning how to operate yourself, right? So we all innately have talents and gifts that bring out the best in us, that bring out the most, that makes us become the most alive. You understand? So are you looking for those things? Are you doing those things? Are you becoming the person? Are you utilizing those talents to where you can receive happiness? And so what they kind of talk about in the book is, like, a lot of us think that happiness is something that we can capture, that we can run and go get. But really, it's something that we have to look within. And a lot of us, here we are. I'm going to break this down with the looking within, because a lot of us probably won't understand that. Looking within is questioning yourself. It's taking the time away from everything to really see what's going on inside. And what you'll find ultimately is that nothing's really going on inside. All that it is you're feeling. So what is going on inside is nothing. It's the same that's going on outside. And so when someone says tell you to look within, they're basically telling you just to take time out of your day to listen to yourself and to feel yourself, to be yourself. And that's that. And so speaking to the individual happinesses that we all have or do not have, what we'll find is, and here we'll get into like learning how to operate yourself, right? So a lot of us are not happy because we're running from our happiness, because we think that if we caught our happiness and we can see ourselves happy, that wouldn't be good enough. So we do things to deter us from getting to that. So there's this analogy in The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, where he says, if you grew up with parents who said, the rich folk are greedy, this and that, then even if you grew up to be rich, what you'll find is you'll always go back broke until you get that, what trapped you in your head, out of there, right? And so speaking to the brokenness, it's like, imagine growing up all your life hearing, rich people are greedy, you should never want to be rich, you know what I'm saying, this and that. What you'll find is that somewhere in your mind was a disconnect. It's like you're disconnected from becoming what it is that you want to be, because you're stuck in this view. And so what I just did when I looked at the camera, I'm like, all right, maybe I'm taking too long. So let's start to hit these points. But learning how to operate yourself, understanding your willpower, and then also understanding that happiness does not lie in external things. Happiness lies within you. And a great quote that I did in my last, was success without fulfillment is failure. And so fulfillment, those talents, the dormant desires that you have within you is your map to get to where you want to go, or to lead you to where you want to go. And then, so here we go. So first we have number one, we have to learn. We have to learn about ourselves. We have to understand ourselves just a little bit more in order to even grant ourselves happiness. In order to be our own best friend, we have to spend more time with ourselves. And what does that look like? Looks like spending, sitting down with yourself. And that's big, sitting down with yourself, if you can understand that. Because we all need that. And then number two, we have dispelling illusions, right? So we have learn, and then we have healing. So where we have so it's like almost search and then find, and then, like kind of release. And so here we are in the finding and releasing, which is healing. So back when I was speaking to your childhood blueprint, you have to study your parents if you can, as much as you can, when you can, because what you'll find is a lot of them lies within you. And so even if you want to be completely opposite of what your parents were, what you'll find is a lot of them lies within you. And so understanding where you get, how come I do this every time I wake up in the morning? I stretch. And where I get that from? You know what I'm saying? Where does these little habits, where is this coming from? Because again, when we can learn how to operate, we can learn how to function in the world. We can learn how to use ourselves. And so this is, again, learning too. But also why I said this is dispelling illusions is because, kind of like I was saying with how if someone says rich people are greedy or all poor people are broke, like whatever it is that's holding you there, you have to realize it, bring awareness to it, and then release it, right? And so I'm bringing up money, but this isn't specifically that, right? I could go into the book, but I want to kind of just hit these points. And so I'll go into the book afterwards, and we'll pick out some sweet stuff that is good in there. But like I said, habits of their parents. How can they give you an advantage to your success? So understanding what your parents were good at, understanding what your parents were bad at. It can bring you a new awareness into your own success. It can bring you better clues. Like I said, it can give you an advantage over yourself, so to say. Thinking of, not just me embodying all the traits that I have, but also that my parents have, because we are just better versions of them. And so dispelling the illusions. And this isn't, I strictly went into parenthood, into childhood, because to be your own best friend, a lot of us missed that when we were little kids. Whether that we were looking for our brothers to come bring us joy, whatever the case may be, a lot of us didn't have that, how to be your own best friend. And so I want to bring this in awareness. Everyone should be their own best friend first. The first person that should be your own best friend is you, because let's say that number one in your life is God. That's you. Whatever that case may look like in your life, you are number one always and forever. And so I want everybody to kind of realize that, like, don't depend on your friends, don't depend on nobody else. Like, it's on you. It's all you. So just take that and run with it. So the healing, dispelling illusions, again, just letting go of some of the things that we like that trapped us into becoming who we are, the F we aren't who we want to be, because we have to look back and find where it was. And so speaking of the finding, number 3 is finding the fault. Doing things that will bring you down, right? So again, speaking to we do it to ourselves. We bring ourselves down. We don't focus on the right things. So you went on a weak diet, and then the day you messed up on your diet, the only thing you could think about is the day you messed up. You didn't even give yourself props or you didn't even give yourself self-encouragement for the days that you went without eating. You know what I'm saying? And so we're not giving ourselves enough credit. We're not bringing enough responsibility to ourselves. Like, it's on you to find that, to be that, to do that, because what you'll find is, even if you think some external circumstance popped up into your life, something happened to you, so to say, you'll think that was a result of something completely out of your own manifestation. That was your doing. And so own that and take that responsibility. And so again, see the wrongs and choose to do correct. So we'll find in ourselves the things that we wish we could do better. You know what I'm saying? And so it's speaking back to this willpower again, we don't want to overforce something. We want things to naturally become. Like I said, with the process of everything is evolution. We live in a world of evolution. So naturally your body wants to get better. But what we have is we have our minds, which is a hustle culture. We have a culture that's pushing us to think better in one way, but our body wants to go in another way. So here we are fighting with ourselves. Again, being our own worst enemy. So how do we get past that? In finding the fault. And so it's just seeing the wrongs. It's bringing awareness, like I said, bringing awareness to certain traits, certain habits, so then your body could decide what's ultimately best for it. So finding the fault. And then number 4 is best friend. Bring the good light to all, just bring the good light. Shed good light on your own good actions, good doings. Like, we're not giving ourselves enough credit. I don't hear anything from nobody around me about how good I've been doing, how great I've been doing. I tell it to my damn self. I don't need nobody to tell me how good I'm doing, how good I look, how sharp I am, how clean, how I tell myself this. I know this about myself. So hearing it from myself is 100 times better than hearing it from somebody else, because I know it's authentic and it's genuine coming from me. I really mean it. And if I don't mean it, then I hope to become it and hope to embody it. And so we're striving to become what it is that I want to be. And so bringing the good, we're focusing on the good. What would you like to focus on? You can focus on the good or the bad. It's up to you. It is ultimately up to you. And I looked at the camera and I felt like my dad for a second. And then, all too often we focus on the bad. And so this is, again, we're thinking of it from a childhood perspective, because we start off as children, and a lot of our trust issues, whatever that happens throughout the course of time, stems from those times, whether that be from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So how do we not bring so much attention to the bad? Because like it is, it's like this, right? So you grew up in a house where the moment you did something wrong, you got yelled at. But if you did something good, nobody told you anything. Nobody said anything about you doing good. So you just thought, I'm going to get more attention if I just focus on the bad, so let me just be bad, right? And so you only get recognition for the bad, right? So no, like, it's on you. I'm putting this in your hands here. Here you are. Here, sir. From this day forward, it's on you to encourage yourself. It's on you to bring light into the things that you want to become if you are not them already. And so not focusing on anything bad. Like, it's called the fill-in effect, where it's like, instead of focusing on not smoking, I'm gonna focus on becoming more focused, right? It's just a switching the mindset. So, and then number 5 is kind of like this is willpower idea. And so after this, we're gonna go through and we're gonna read a couple quotes. But it's this willpower idea, so determination is just is a mindset. Your mind is set on accomplishing something. That's determination. What we'll find is if the head of the train is leading, the back of the train will follow. And so if the mind is leading, the body will follow. So we don't have to force anything. Just let the influences of the good, of the determination mindset, let that influence your body into changing, because it will change for the better on its own. And so I hope this video brought you guys a little bit closer to becoming your best friend, just through enlightenment of self, just through sharing some ideas and concepts of what we hold on to as kids and what we hold on to as adults. And so here I'm gonna go read some things, and we'll kind of slow it down a little bit here, just so we can really break down what it is that's going on. But like I said with the 5, how to become your own best friend, we have to learn to operate ourselves, and then we have to dispel illusions of ourselves, which is basically filtering all the negativity, all of the positivity, even if it's not in the right direction, and finding what's truly for us. And so that's dispelling illusions, right? So negativity, all the evil that's in your mind, everything that you think of is evil, put it somewhere else, because it doesn't have no room here in being your own best friend. Because that's it. And then finding the fault, so we'll look for the reasons on which we aren't our own best friend, so to say. And we won't look too closely. We won't examine that with sharp, keen eyes. We're just going to look at it and we're going to say, hey, I see you there. Now let's see how you can bubble up out my life. And then best friend, being your own best friend means self-encouragement, bringing, joy to yourself, which is something we don't do enough. I don't hear anybody encouraging themselves. Everyone tries to find fault. I did this wrong. I did that wrong, which is cool, because at least we're taking responsibility. But let's try to really give ourselves some kudos, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And if they do, it won't last as long as you giving that to yourself. If you truly feel good about something that you did this day, that's just going to last a lot longer than somebody telling you that. You know what I'm saying? It depends on the person. But and so let's get into this book. How to Be Your Own Best Friend by Mildred Newman and Bernard Berkowitz with Gene Owen. And so look, I love to tell people I go thrifting and I get books. This book was $1, and it was so good I felt I needed to do a video on it. So here we are with just getting into it. All right, so when things run well, we must actively bring them to our attention. When things go wrong, they call attention to themselves. So when things go wrong naturally, bro, it's somebody gonna say something. If you don't, she don't, he don't, we don't, you gonna say something, right? And so when things run well, not too many people gonna say nothing. Again, like somebody might, but you gotta say something. And so it is up to us to give ourselves recognition. If we wait for it to come from others, we feel resentful when it doesn't, and when it does, we may well reject it. It is not what others say to us that counts. We all love praise, but have you ever noticed how quickly the glow of a compliment wears off? When we compliment ourselves, the glow stays within. I think that's right there with it. We right there with it. And then this is what I was saying about. This is cool too. So it's like this, right? So this is what I was saying with the diet, right? So what about the week he was on the diet? He should give himself credit for that and go right back on it. If that is what he wants for himself. The pitfall is this. Very likely it was not so much the food he couldn't resist on the 8th day as the temptation to tear down the wonderful self-image he was building all week long. That's something many of us find hard to take. Really feeling good about ourselves. And so this is something that goes into the dispelling illusions categories. Are we allowed to feel good about ourselves in a self way? Meaning, have I given myself the clearance to feel good about myself? Am I allowed to feel that without feeling, like I said, with this negativity filter? Somebody saying being over arrogant, you know? And so do we feel guilty about feeling good about ourselves? Do you feel guilty about feeling good about, like, is that something that, you know? And so when we hate ourselves the morning after, we should ask where we get our biggest kick, from our activities the night before or from the wallowing in self-reproach the following day. And so what they're saying is the guy who's on a diet, after 7th day, he cheats. Then on the 8th day when he cheats, he's just in his own head talking about, I'm worthless, I'm this and that, I can never follow through with my own thing. Like this is what we do to ourselves on a low level, but we won't admit it. We won't bring it to the forefront. And so here we are in wallowing in self-reproach the following day. He enjoys that. And this is what we'll find, is that misery loves company. And not only does misery love company, but misery loves to find things to be miserable about. And so we won't allow that misery to take over us. If you are allowing yourself to be your own best friend, because if you are your own best friend, misery has no place there. There is no room. I am split in half. This nigga loves this nigga just as much as this nigga loves this. You know what I'm saying? I'm split in half down the middle. There's no room for hate. There's no room for, I don't want to get into the self-love. What you mean you don't love yourself? How have you been with yourself 22 years and you haven't found one thing to love about yourself? You haven't found that thing to really bring out that within you. And so instead of do the things that make you feel good about yourself. Stop finding things that will set you up for failure and make you feel bad about yourself, because in a weird way, you love feeling bad about yourself. And I'm looking deep into this camera because I'm letting you know right now, you love feeling bad about yourself, but you won't admit it. It's something that's subconscious, that is in there. And so let that go. Let that go, because there's no room for it. Thank you. Do things that will make you feel good about yourself. I'm trying to find, okay, so it just says this right here. People know so much more than they're willing to admit. You're acting ignorant. You're acting blind, and I can see through that. I can see through that, and what it will do to me is just disconnect from you, because I can see that that you're just being ignorant, that you're not allowing yourself to just know and feel and be. There's something that's holding you back. There's a barrier in there that you need to surpass. And so I'm looking for yep. Many people are under a kind of negative self-hypnosis. They put labels on themselves. They say, I am a terrible person who I always do awful things. I can't possibly do better. Instead of convincing themselves beforehand that something we want to do is impossible. Hold on, I'm gonna read this again. So I'm gonna just read this whole, because I think it's pretty cool. But that's just what everybody does. Why don't you think about the times you were wise and kind? Why remember and dwell on defeats instead of victories? Many people are under, man, I gotta read this because it's perfect. It's perfect, right? All right. So here we go. I'm gonna read so this is the person before kind of asking the question. It's hard enough. When I think of all the times I've known I was doing something I'd regret when it was clear as day, and I went ahead anyway and ate the extra piece of cake, or was irritable toward my mother, I could scream. I can think of hundreds of times I wanted to be wise and thoughtful and mature and gracious and all those lovely things, and ended up acting like a brat. And then here we go with the answer. But that's just what everybody does. Why don't you think about the times you were wise and kind? Why remember and dwell on defeats instead of victories? Many people are under a kind of negative self-hypnosis. They put labels on themselves. They say, I am A terrible person who, I am B, always does this awful thing. I am C, who can't possibly do better. Instead of convincing ourselves beforehand that something we want to do is impossible, we should spend those energies looking for ways to do it. We must encourage ourselves. You can't do anything if you believe you can't. But when you insist you're not the kind of person who could climb a mountain or make a speech, all you are saying is that up to now you haven't done it. Sometimes even that's not true, because if people want to see themselves as unable to do something, they manage to forget the times they actually have done it. But even if they haven't, all they're talking about is their behavior in the past. Who knows what they will do in the future? If we all just kept on doing exactly what we've done up to now, people could never change. And people are changing all the time. That's what growth is. Doing things you've never done, sometimes things you once didn't even dream you could do. And so breaking it down, where we are, But when you insist you're not the kind of person who could climb a mountain or make a speech, when you insist, you hear me? When you insist that you can't climb a mountain, that you can't do this, that you can't do that, I'm willing to bet my life that you're not going to be able to do it. Because if you don't believe you can do it, I'm betting against you. Dead serious. That's all it is to it. You do not need determination, but good things don't come out of forcing yourself. When you try to do it all out of willpower, you are not treating yourself with respect. You are making the assumption that change has to be imposed from above, that yourself doesn't have its own impulse to do better, but it does. Real growth can only come from within. You need to learn to work with yourself, to use your willpower on the side of yourself. But yourself must come willingly, of course. That doesn't mean you can't cause some gentle persuasion. And your will must be enlisted to help you accomplish what you really want to do. This is with the illusion. Now, if you're pushing yourself to do something that your gut doesn't want to do, just think about the imbalance and the frustration. That's all I want to say. Many of us set ourselves arbitrary and impossible goals. Someone who thinks he can do anything he has in mind to is not in contact with himself. This is illusions, y'all. This is where we get into illusions, and let me make sure I'm spitting it right. And your will must be enlisted to help you accomplish what you really want to do. Many of us set ourselves arbitrary and impossible goals. Someone who thinks he can do anything he has a mind to is not in contact with himself. It is an arrogant belief because it sets no limits. The struggles of our real selves are open-ended, but they are limited by our actual capacities and interests and strivings. It would be futile for me to make up my mind to be a painter if I have no talent in that direction. But the truth is, if the talent is lacking, the desire will be absent too. Your genuine self does not want to do things that are utterly foreign to it. It wants to realize its own potential. Of course, people could come up with all kinds of crazy notions about what they think they want to do or be, but they are just that, notions and not genuine impulses. When we use our willpower to achieve goals that do not spring out of us, but which we set for the sake of pleasing others or to fulfill a fantasy about who we are, we create a kind of monster, a mechanical man in which our living self is trapped. We have all seen people who are held together by sheer willpower. The effort is enormous, but the result is hardly worth it. They aren't people we enjoy being with or who enjoy being with themselves. So if you find somebody who can't be with themselves, I say you run away. I say you run away, but before you leave, you scream out, hey, be your own best friend. Why? Because I can't be around you, bro, if when you look in the mirror, you don't even like looking at yourself. And I say that to say, not to say that we aren't stuck in a society in which beauty is set in boundaries and you can't be beautiful if you're not fit inside that, but come on, bro. That heart, left side, that heart is beautiful, you dig? Like, at the end of the day, everything that beats inside. So who are you really? Me? You look at me right now, I'm gonna tell you this. Way more soul food than eye candy. You understand what I'm saying? I'm way more soul food than eye candy. I look good. I feel that. I understand. I'm grateful for my parents. I'm handsome from my daddy face, gracious from my mother. You understand? But that don't. I love to indulge in that. But if it was all gone, I always think about that. If it was all gone, I'm still this soul food, boy. You hear this voice? As long as I got this voice, I'm gonna keep pushing. You understand? Because that is what I can bring to somebody. And so, where can you bring your light? And again, how can you find that love? How can you enjoy being with yourself? Because if you don't enjoy being with yourself, I don't want to be with you either. And so, yet, ex-alcoholics often give that impression. You can sense a terrific strain in them. It's costing them a lot, but you can't say the effort isn't worth it or that it doesn't come from a real desire for liberation. And so that's what she's kind of arguing, like, yo, like, ex-alcoholics, they be going hard. They use their willpower to their force. But just think, let's get into it. Yes, that's true. Their tragedy is that many of them don't release their energies from the struggle against what they don't want to be. What? Many of them don't release the energies from the struggle of what they don't want to be. So a lot of us are like, I don't want to be Obama. I don't want to be Obama. I don't want to be fucking whatever. I don't know what I'm thinking of, but I don't want to be this. I don't want to be that. I want to be that. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. But think about that. Think about the repetition of I don't want to be this. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be this. Eventually, bro, your mind like, bro, I don't know what's really going on in here. Like, what are you really saying, bro? Like, do you want to be this or not? Why you keep bringing it up if you don't want to be it, right? And so I had to throw the book down because their tragedy is that many of them don't release their energies from the struggle against what they don't want to be. To spend them on becoming the person they do want to be, they have taken an important step forward, but they have to go on from there. What I am trying to say is that if we want to become all that is us to become, we have to use everything we've got. Our feelings, our intuition, our intelligence, and our willpower, our whole self. If we do, the payoff is enormous. I'm gonna leave it right there, y'all. What? Because we have 30 minutes, but wait. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I ain't done yet. Y'all thought class was over. Get y'all books back. Ain't nobody say y'all pack y'all shit. Then why don't we do it? Why do so few of us live that way? Because there's also a hidden payoff in continuing to suffer. Lordy. For one thing, it's a familiar. We're very comfortable with it. It gives us a sense of security to keep on in the same old self-defeating ways, letting one bad action lead to another. We know what to expect. It makes our world comprehensible, predictable, in some sense manageable. One of the things people need most is a feeling of living in a world they understand. That's one of the deepest appeals of religion. That's why people are so disturbed today. It's not only the violence around us, but also the feeling that it doesn't make sense. Nothing seems to hang together anymore. The old explanations don't seem to apply. People don't know what to count on anymore. Things seem more and more uncertain. Social chaos is terrifying, but personal chaos is even more horrifying. From a very early age, we are looking for ways to organize that chaos. We all start out as scientists of a sort. Gradually, we build an inner view of the world which sorts out the overwhelming flood of stimuli that come our way and calls some of the good and desirable and safe and others bad and dangerous. We decide that certain actions will get us the results that we want and others are likely to get us in trouble. And so, these are things that we develop as a child, children. What's important about that is that if we don't learn to let go of the inner child or to heal the inner child or to at least understand the inner child, we'll be kind of stuck in this days of between good and bad. We won't, like I said in one of my songs, graduate from a boy to a man. I can't speak for women because I'm not a woman, but I will speak for men. Graduate from a boy into a man. I say that strictly to say this. It's time to grow up. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are, but it's time to grow up. And if you haven't realized that within yourself, if you haven't said, yo, maybe I'm still acting like a little boy. If you haven't said, damn, have I ever thought about becoming a man? If you haven't said, what, you know what I'm saying? If you aren't questioning a lot of these things, I'm questioning your manhood. And I don't say that to say masculinity. I'm saying your manhood as what you hold true to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to become the man. Not by nobody else's definitions. Not by nobody else's rules. Because, like I said, I'm my own. Yo, I walk into a room and if nobody fucks with me, I find a way to smile, to cheese, to be in my own world. Because that is what being your own best friend is. It's living in your own world with your own self, with somebody who always understands you, with somebody who is always going to be there for you, with somebody who will never leave your side unless you make that happen. And so I had a song in one of my songs where it's like, my mind's a black hole, it's here and gone, playing tag with half of me, the other half is chasing C, right? So what we find is that it's all a game. And at the end of the day, look, Leak Speed gonna do book reviews, Leak Speed gonna do a lot of shit, but what I want you to know is that it's all a game, right? I was laying in bed last night, listening to Alan Watts in a completely dark room, closing my eyes. He said, just feel. He said, don't think about anything that you're listening to as anything other than noise. Like, what if you couldn't comprehend anything? So all the music that came was just noise. All the buzzing, all the cars was just noise. Like, if you couldn't comprehend everything, then what would life be? And so what we'll find is that life is nothing but a game in which over time has developed into almost what seems real in the world we live in. And so just don't take it too serious. When I say be your own best friend, it's love what you're here to do. Love what we have all come to do, which is to progress this world. Because what we'll find is that we all came from the same thing. And this is something I'll preach forever. We all have the same mind. We all are the same thing, right? Let me take off my skin real quick so you can see my skeleton, so you can see my muscles, so you can see my bones, so you can see that I am nothing but a meat suit. But what's really in there is what you hear. But like I said, everything is to somebody who can't comprehend. And so not to somebody, to all of us at a certain point. And so I don't know. I just want to challenge again, bring it up. We're going on 35 minutes. So if you're here the whole time, shout out to you. If not, leak speak, learn, educate, activate knowledge. How to be your own best friend. I hope this was a good basic tutorial to be your own best friend. And again, there are just some key things that you may need to pick up on in this video that will help you to become that. Because being your own best friend isn't something that, you know, a lot of us think about too much, but those who are most happy with themselves are their own best friends because they don't rely on anyone or anything to make them happy. They have someone within. They have themselves. The kingdom of heaven is within. The kingdom is within. Everything that you're looking for in the world is within you. And so just to speak to something that I heard the other day, Dr. Sebi was like, there's an organic family in which the true family of the world was built from this organic family, and then the rest of them came. But what he said basically when speaking to race, religion, and such, he basically just race. He's like, I'm proud to be an African descent. I'm proud to be what I am. And if I was anything else, I would be proud to be them as well. And so whatever world you live in, and I specifically referred that to speak of taking off your skin and think about what we would be if we weren't. But when you have your skin on, what you need to find is what benefits come from that. So being a white man in today's society, being a Chinaman in today's society, being an Indian man in today's society, being a black man in today's society, where are the strengths? Not weaknesses. We're not focused on weaknesses. We're focused on strengths. And so where are they? I want to end it there. Leak speak, leak speak. Be your own best friend. Nobody else is going to have your back like you do. And if they do, it's going to be because you love yourself so much. It's going to be because you spend so much time with you that they love to be with you as much as you love to be with you. Leak speak, leak speak.